Man,
Hello, everyone. My name is Ahmed, and this is FansView TV. Joining me now is Daniel, a United fan. I know he's sad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know you're not happy. Sorry. But you're welcome on board. Welcome on board. What do you have to say about today's game? What do you have to say about today's game?
Firstly, thank you for having me again. But it was that game again. It was that game again. You know, the margin was very slim. It was there for the taking for anybody. Chelsea, started off excellently well. 2 goals to the good. Man U somehow didn't play the best of footballs. Managed to find their way back. Went on to take a lead. At some point, it's about like 65, 63, 65 minutes ish. It was 13 attempts on goal from both sides. You know, not much of a brilliance from both sides. They were just running up and down. One attack from an attack, there's a counter breaking out, and the other team is, breaking the other team's attacking channels and hitting back on the counter. So, you know, I watched on TNT, and then at intervals they had Joe Cole and Rio Ferdinand, speak on the background, and both player, or what I say, both persons were like, they had their hearts hanging almost on the line. But in all, it was an exciting game. I thought a draw would have been decent, you know, after the penalty. Come on, 100 and what's it called? Was he 98 or 97 minute penalty from 99
96.
99 minutes 96, yeah, 96 minute penalty. I felt like there was no point trying to push that attack again. The moment I saw Diogo Dalot, he was trying to overcompensate for the error. Sometimes, it had happened, it had happened. Just see out the game, get a draw off the bridge. It's something. But then, they were hit on the counter, corner kick.
What do you have to
That
say?
was
What
over
do you have
like
to say about Manchester United?
there was over, the flipping annoying thing was that there was over 10 yards between Cole Palmer and the next, or would I say the closest Manchester United player, from that corner kick. I like, come on, like, come on. I I don't know, but it's sad we didn't get a point. Like, kudos to Chelsea, kudos to the young players. Like earlier, yesterday when we were talking on the preview, I predicted a 2-1 Manchester United victory. Predicted it was going to be quite a very pragmatic game. At the end of the day, it wasn't really so pragmatic. Both things were let on the loose by both managers. Exciting game to watch. And I'm beginning to think this is the direction Manchester United will be going, because in the last couple of games, bar the Brentford game, they have actually been they've approached the manner they've approached the game has actually been on a very high tempo, coming into run to you know their breaks are out. So I'm thinking probably this is what the entire structure have agreed to. I don't know if you are seeing what I'm seeing. There's a bit more direct approach, so to say, right now, and
Just like just like Liverpool.
yeah, and yes, the bad side of it all is that it's sort of leaving the back line exposed. Why? Because of the lack of legs in the middle of the park, and at the central backs also. Casemiro is, he doesn't have the legs again to run the channels. Um, um, Scott McTominay isn't actually the best guy who can do that for like a 60 minute stretch. He doesn't really have such level of gas to run that long. And again, looking at the back line, Varane hasn't been so fit. Maguire isn't the fastest guy. Licha hasn't been fit all season. Um, uh, Johnny Evans, you saw him also been struggling to stay fit. Came on. a sub at the half, and midway into the second half also had to exit the game again as a result of an injury. So you could see that a good five players need to come in, say two CDMs sort of in in the summer, and then have Kobe Mino probably sit as an eight, moving box to box, and then trying to get some legs also at the central back positions also. Then I think it will be a very decent team, and let's see what the team will do. Because if we're approaching football this way, it's going to leave us conceding a lot of goals. But the good thing now is that we are creating more chances. I think in the last 4 or 5 games, we've created more chances than we have created in, I think, the last 10 games or thereabout before that game, and we've actually scored more goals and all that. So there are kind of positives, to take from the game. The fact that we've seen more link-up plays, we've seen more sort of direct approaches, we've seen the players willing to take much more risk and all that. But then again, losing a game such as this, where you sort of had the game, almost sealed, and losing it within the last couple minutes of the game was quite heartbreaking to witness. But then again, it happens. We did it to Liverpool a couple weeks ago. It's our turn this time around to enjoy the spoils. So it's football. We go again weekend. We've got Liverpool again in Old Trafford. Makes for an exciting game. We'll see what happens.
Let's talk about the penalties. Were they not too soft?
You see, consistency has actually been an issue over the years when it comes to officiating in the Premier League largely. In the Premier League, you can't say that what is good for the geese is good for the gander when it comes to the Premier League in terms of officiating. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. You could go now and in an Arsenal Man City game, it's not a penalty, but so like sometimes it seemed like there's sort of like an agenda, sort of like a script to be, that has already been authored, that has to be honored, that must be brought to life, sort of. Particularly the second penalty. Look, even the first, look.
Yeah, the first. That was what I was
First,
saying. It was questionable. Like, come on.
look, the second also. Look, that was a flaring arm. Look, football is a contact sport. Anywhere else on the pitch, it might not even have been called a free kick. That's the very funny part of it all. But then again, being on the 18 yard, it's quite very, very soft. But like I borrow the words of Arsene Wenger. Arsene Wenger would say, rules tend to become harsh if they are interpreted verbatim. So I think tonight is a case of footballing rules being interpreted verbatim. Contact is contact, minimal or not. That could be perceived as impeding a player who was goal bound. Who so that's the rule. That's the rule. So we go with that, and we just sad day generally. Trust me. Look, I was running back home. I missed the first time. I actually even missed the first goal because I was rushing back home, and then soon I felt happy again midway into, I think, about like 35, 38 minutes. I was happy. We got the goals. We are going and all that. And then to lose the game in the manner which we lost the game, I also blame the coach to a certain degree. You see, Rashford, for me, I wouldn't mind if we sell Rashford. Like, trust me, like get some money out of Rashford, get some good 80 million, 90 million quid off Rashford, invest it in the roster, invest it in rebuilding you see, you know me, I'm actually not my personality, I'm not big on pleading with people to actually do their job. You see, you come on a sub in a game like this, substituting Højlund, who might not have scored a goal tonight, but the manner he ran the channels, managed the central forward position, he was always dragging, the central defenders away from their positions, His runs were left by the shyly confused, a couple of times. He had those diagonals, he had those zigzags. And look, Rashford just comes in as lethargic. You could see good 10, 12 yards between Rashford and Garnacho, Pyro before Garnacho was substituted. And I'm like, lad, you just came in. Like you barely kicked a football, you've barely broken a sweat. And it's like, I don't get it. I don't get we wouldn't continue to make excuses for you. You go out there, you're trying to tell us how you are Manchester true and true, born and raised Manchester, but we don't see that on the pitch. Sort of like the case of Paul Pogba, where you select the games you feel like playing, the days you want to play, the position you want to play, and all of that. For me, if Rashford is sold, I think is a win-win for both the club and the player. He can go anywhere. He can go to PSG. He can go anywhere he feels like. He can go do whatever he wants to do. But I think it's time Manchester United looks to bring in. Come on, look at the Chelsea boys. Look at the way these boys were running. Look at the way these boys were attacking. Every one of them. When the guys who came on sub came in, they came in with more fire than the guys who started. And then you could expect the same thing. Just imagine Mason Mount came on, ran his socks off, just controlled the ball in the middle of the park. Rashford, when you were needed, where were you? Rashford had to understand that as a central forward, he is the first line of defense for the team. But you don't see him doing that. Kudos to him. He was able to chase down one of the balls and did the defensive cover at the far right, off a break from a corner kick and all that. Kudos, I give that to him. But I'm speaking largely, like, it wasn't really exciting. I felt when I saw him, I felt we should have just let Højlund see out the game, because I felt with the presence of Højlund in that game, I wouldn't have. I don't think the Chelsea central defenders would have felt comfortable for the rest of the game, because he had pace, he had power, he had he had.
You can say that Højlund is a traditional central forward, so he knows how to
Man
pin
is proper.
defenders. But I want to ask
Man
you,
is proper.
when you first saw the lineup and noticed that Antony was starting, were you happy with it? Because Antony's performance today was
I'm big on I'm big on Antony. Probably maybe not as big as my brother who is, but I'm big on Antony because I love what he brings. Like I tell you, Antony helps us widen the pitch. If you notice what happened today, we could swing diagonals on both sides because we've got Antony and we've got Garnacho. They helped us widen the pitch, giving us more spaces to operate on the offensive lines. He's good on the ball. He's pacey. He gave Cucurella the match of his life, probably in the entire of the second half, until Cucurella was substituted. And I thought if Cucurella wasn't substituted, I wouldn't have. I don't think Chelsea would have won this game. It was also a good move from the Chelsea bench to have taken him off at the time they took him off. Antony was excellent. I'll be honest, I didn't expect him to have the kind of game he had on the offensive side, but I always knew that on the defensive side, look, Antony would always bring his A game on the and when I was watching the game with my brother here, when he conceded the penalty kick, I said something. I said Antony is going to make up for this. I know Antony. He was lucky not to get a yellow card at the other end, where he, got into the scuffle, with the Chelsea lad, and then he had some words for the lineman who didn't give corner kick, who awarded a goal kick instead, and all that. I know at that time I became scared because obviously his antiques, he has the issues with emotions and all that. But the moment as the game progressed, I noticed he sort of found a way back into the game, found his head into the game, and all that. So I knew this was the kind of an Antony game. And again, the game was very open. So he had channels. He had that good 3-5 yards to keep the ball down, look head on at his defending opposition and attack. And you know that Garnacho and Anthony, Garnacho, Anthony, and Ahmad, currently in Manchester United, and also Højlund are some of the best head-on attackers we've got. They are the guys who could look defenders right in their eyeballs, run through them, who have the confidence to run through defenders, And so I would say I was a bit surprised he had the game he had on the offensive side, but his impact on the defensive side, it's the Anthony of every day. It's what you would expect from
What
Anthony.
about his pass to Garnacho?
Oh, come on. He's got that in his sleeves. You see, fans are, again, it boils down to what I said the preview. I have tried to help myself no longer see price tags, and you also understand the situation around Manchester United procuring the services of Anthony. He was to go for at about 45 million euros.
Yeah, 50 million.
Yeah, 50 million euros. And then Manchester United left it late and all of that. Because I could remember the interview by Van der Sar before he took ill and all of that, where, he was answering the questions that was coming from a lot of angry Manchester United fans who were like, oh, he's a betrayer and all of that. He had to explain that, this was not his fault. It's the fault of the Manchester United executives and all of that. And by the time they were coming, I think it was actually a week prior to the resumption of the Dutch league. And Ajax Football Club was like, no, like this is a bad time. There's no way you guys are going to have to compensate, not just for the player, but also for the time and all that. So we can be able to have the resource to go out there and source the players and all that. But then again, the figure, the tag, on him is probably part of the reasons why, players are hard on him. But I say, Anthony, give him time. Give Anthony time. Anthony, a fresh season, a good couple of players. Anthony is actually it's actually a player that we should have in the dressing room, because he's a team guy. He's got that fire. He's got that energy. He's a fighter. He's the guy who sees out games. Who's going to run to the very last blast of the whistle. So those are kind of guys Manchester United ought to have. Let's look. We tend to always forget that Manchester United. Antonio Valencia was a winger. He was known basically for his defensive side. But then again, fans have forgotten that, because that was our glory days.
So he was known for his crosses. He had good crosses.
No, I'm saying largely his strengths were actually on. He was a plus on the defense, and then he had those very beautiful crosses. We knew that Valencia was going to do something. He was going to force his way through the right and hit the pass. He would get, say, 2/4 or 2/5, and one could land on Rooney's head or Teves's or whatever, and bang, is a goal. Or cause some sort of chaos in the 18-yard box, and then there is someone coming in to clean up the second ball, probably the Paul Scholes and the Carricks of this world and all of over, and Ryan Giggs and the likes of them. So what I'm saying is, fans have to understand that Anthony is a dynamic sort of winger. On the offensive side, you mustn't always be assisting. The advantages of having natural wingers, firstly on the offensive side, is their ability to spread the pitch, their ability to retain the possession for you, their ability to win fouls for you, their ability to kick forward passes for you, their ability to drive the ball, cover distances, and probably win goal kicks and corner kicks. These are, their primary job before we start looking at how much balls they bring into the box, how much goal contributions, and all of that. And if you look at all of these, Anthony does them excellently well. Some persons may beg to disagree, but I think he does it so well. The issue now is with his assists and probably his final touches or his final decisions, his decisions rather at the final third of the pitch. Probably those are the things. So Anthony will come good, trust me. If Rashford is not going to be sold, I think Rashford should be made to sit on the bench. Look, I'm tired of making excuses for Rashford. I think the club deserves better.
So any positives? going forward?
Yeah, there are positives. We're creating more chances. I think the players are becoming more confident. They are now more confident to take more risks, more confidence to look their opponents in the eyes and go for it. The last couple of games, they've been able to dig deep, find goals. In the Brentford game, though it ended in a draw, but it was a game where they had to like dig deep. I mean, so deep to get a goal. And at the time they got it and all that. Staying in the game that long, it was a terrible game largely. And then the Liverpool game, and then this game against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. The positives are there to see. But on the defensive side, starting from the middle of the park, uh, it's more like a six lane express in the middle of the park for Manchester United at the moment. The players are leggy there. Casemiro is quite very leggy. And if we're going to be playing this sort of risky football, then I expect Manchester United to be very, very busy in the summer, trying to see how they could fix the middle of the park. But then again, I could throw in Mason Mount in the middle of the park and see what I can do and see what can be done, what can be achieved rather with the pairing of Mason Mount and Kobe Maino. Throw in the middle of the park. Just play you a traditional 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, or 4-2-1-1. Just have that extra leg in the middle of the peak that is quite fast enough, to win tackles, read opponents' offensive drives and see how they could break up opponents' offensive channels, and also good ball retainers, good kickers, and that. So I could take the gamble against Liverpool. I'll sit Casemiro, and you also know Casemiro is not so fit also. So I could throw in Mason Mount in the middle of the park if I were the coach, and just see what comes out of that.
All right. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you next time.